that he's not taking this pandemic seriously. Even after he's been in the hospital, his attitude appears not to have changed at all, except that now he claims to be one of the world's greatest experts on this disease, based on 3 days in the hospital. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous for most Americans, and they are very critical of the president. The latest polls have shown him bleeding support, particularly among women and among well-educated Americans. His support is declining very rapidly.
Well, we do have a month left until the election, and we have seen how much can change even in 1 week, in 24 hours here in Washington. And I know you have analyzed a lot of presidential elections. So what is your take on what is happening right now in this final stretch? And will the results we see on November 3rd come faster than we originally thought?
Well, they could come fast, but there's a big question hanging over the election. If Trump does not get more votes than Biden, will he ever concede? That's what Americans are asking. What will it take to get him to concede that he lost the election? Right now, I can tell you there's one thing that's interesting about this election. For the last 3 or 4 months, nothing really much has changed in public support for Donald Trump. It's been declining only in the last day or so since he left the hospital. But he's been behind the whole time, and the margin is getting greater and greater, and it's much larger than it was when his opponent was Hillary Clinton in 2016, and he turned that around by winning a critical number of votes in some key swing states. He is behind not just nationally, but also in those key swing states that nobody bothered to look at in 2016. So the answer is he is in real political trouble.
We also have the economy to look at. We heard Fed Chair Jerome Powell warn of, quote, economic tragedy if the U.S. cannot control the coronavirus. And then we had the president announce that he is stopping any stimulus negotiations until after the election. Markets dropped today, and members of Trump's own party are facing tough election challenges. So what do you see here, and what are Americans saying, especially when it comes to their money and their livelihoods?
They're giving up on this president. They don't think he has the interests of the country at heart. He still has the loyalty of his base. He talks about it all the time. That's about a third of the voters, maybe a little bit more. His base is loyal. He has spent his entire 4 years as president catering to the needs of his base, but now, for the first time, they may get upset with him because many of them are working-class voters. They don't have college degrees. They work for a living. They've lost their jobs, and they are really suffering. And here the president has cut off all negotiations with the Democrats who control one house of Congress and saying there's nothing more we can do for you. That could lose him some critical support, even in his base.
So what are some of the key things that you will be watching for in the hours and days ahead?
Well, we want to obviously look at how far his support drops and whether he can make any kind of recovery. We've still got 4 weeks. And as we know from everything that's happened so far, there's a surprise almost every week in this campaign. The loss of the Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court. He could win a Supreme Court nomination for the woman that he nominated to take her place, although that looks more and more difficult. In fact, many analysts are suggesting that not only will Trump be defeated, but also the Republicans, his party, will lose control of the Senate, and that could doom his Supreme Court nominee. All those things could happen. The latest, of course, being his infection with the coronavirus. There's a surprise almost every day. So we really don't know what to expect in the next 4 weeks.